Hello, and welcome back to 30 Days of Dopamine. So, today we're talking to our favorite wellness and creativity coach, Jenni Grover, and we have had her on every year, and I will continue to have her on because she is so helpful and we love it. So, today we're going to talk to Jenni about we talked about the messy middle earlier. We're going to talk about the uncertainty part of the creative process and how do we get through it? How does it feel? Hi, thank you for coming back. I always appreciate when you come along. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I love being with y'all. This is great.
I know. And there's always, it's like, you've been on 3 times, and we always manage to find something new.
I mean, there's always more we can talk about when it comes to creativity.
Yes.
There's just because we're always evolving, the world is always evolving, our knowledge about how brains work is evolving, and there's so many different chances to dig in.
Yep. And you you have your creative, colorful stuff back there. I don't think I mentioned before. You are also, not only are you a coach and very fun, but you are also a quilter. So like you are of this world. Like
Oh, for
to
sure.
do the things.
Yeah, I know all, and I coach a lot of quilters, so I know all of the reasons that we feel like our creativity is getting sapped or destroyed or whatever word you want to use. And I have comebacks for all of them.
Yeah. You are, yes, and I know that you, even if someone doesn't get to coach with you, it's like you are always full of stuff. So I want to
Oh,
pick your brain.
thanks. Yeah, I'm
So
here.
I remember, and this is stuck in my mind for a long time. There is a video out in the wild of John Cleese talking about creativity and things with Monty Python and all the various things that he did. And he talks about in his when they were planning stuff or spitballing or building out skits, is
Hmm.
like his stuff would get picked not because it was, well, like it was better for the moment, but not because he came up with it first. It's like
Mm.
he always talks about it took, I think, several tries was the gist, whereas someone else who was faster with it, I think he said Eric Idle, which I read,
Yeah.
he always came up with something right away, but it wasn't like the right fit. So it was always,
Yes.
let's keep pushing, let's keep pushing. But
Hmm.
there's that whole sort of difference between I don't want to, I'm scared.
Oh, yeah. And what do you think we're scared of? I have ideas, but what do you think people are scared of?
Failing and what failure
Yes.
means.
Yes. Or looking stupid
Right?
in front of other people,
Hmm.
um, or wasting materials.
That's, I think, a hard one too,
Yeah,
especially for like something like this. Is like we all know things are expensive,
it's
but then
expensive. Yeah.
wasting time too is like this is the for fun stuff. Is like
Yeah.
our for fun stuff is in short supply.
Yes. I mean, just a quick note on that is everybody's feeling the pinch right now. Everybody's feeling the pinch. Even people of means are not able to get some of the things that they usually get easily, and they're feeling that pinch. Whereas some other people might say, I can't afford to shop at quilt shops at all, and that's their pinch. But
Right.
everybody's feeling it. And time, please, no one feels like they ever have enough time. So we all feel that. And the feeling of not wanting to look stupid in front of other people,
Yeah.
lots of us feel that in lots of different ways. And I've talked to some of the most famous modern quilters, and they all have that in common. They all face that sometimes. But that fear of failure is one of the biggest fear. I mean, it is just such a giant umbrella term that
Yeah.
covers all of these things, right?
Well, and they always talk, the joke is always is like I showed up and I was naked and I failed the test and all this other stuff. It was like this is
Yes.
the quilting equivalent. It was like I'm gonna show up and
Yes.
it's not gonna work. Yeah.
They're not going to like it, or my points aren't going to be perfect, or my color skills are not as strong, or like there's whatever, you name it, fill in the blank. Everybody watching, fill in the blank. I know you have a
Mhm.
couple things, but the thing is that if we think of quilting, if we think of any art form as that the win condition, if you will, or the way that we know we're successful is that we create a perfect finished outcome. If we're stuck in that perspective, then there are so many ways to feel like we didn't succeed, you know? And so I think it's more important for us in general to think about creativity and creative work and art as a process and less of a product. And
Yes.
that, you know?
I yes, all of that. Say more, say louder. Because that's one of the things that was like I teach and do different things for quilting. And I always tell like my students is like, this is the way that I do it. Obviously, I'm the teacher, I'm here to teach you, but
Hmm.
this is the way
Hmm.
that I do it. That doesn't mean it's gonna be the best way for you. And I think that's the same for me, that's the same approach that I try and help people get to with
Hmm.
anything that they're doing. Is like that's part of the reason why when like we write a quilt pattern, I don't put it in color is because just
Hmm.
because I did it in these colors doesn't mean you have to. I want you to
Oh,
do something different. Try is like it's
yeah.
cool when you do that. I want you to go into a shop and be like, I'm excited by this fabric over here, which I
Yeah.
didn't have access to.
Yeah, right. And that the thing is, if we're thinking about success, right,
Hmm.
as like
Hmm.
doing it right, and that's where a lot of quilters bump into this idea. If they make quilts from patterns, they will tell me, "Well, I'm not creative because I make from a pattern."
Hmm.
You're actually literally creating something with your body and your
Right.
brain. So you are being creative. You're putting your own spin on it. Even if you use a kit, you might still be picking color placement or choosing to use the materials at hand. And then the thing is, if we want to develop a more unique personal point of view, if that's a goal of ours, then we have to stretch outside of working with kits, or we
Right.
have to stretch outside of either working with patterns or like, we look at the modern traditionalist realm of quilting where people are using patterns, they're using hundreds of year old patterns,
Hmm.
patterns that are hundreds of year old. They're maybe not using like 100-year old,
Right. Right.
but
Right. Right. Stuff
but
that is
they're
established and in like the quilt
yes,
vernacular is like a log
totally.
cabin is a log cabin. Do a log cabin
Yes.
differently.
Something in Barbara Brackman's encyclopedia
Yeah, yeah,
of quilt patterns, right? You're still using a pattern, but you're choosing the size, the scale, the colors, whether or not you're using prints or solids or both. Like you're deciding all these things. So,
yeah.
and the thing is, I want to come back to this idea of failure because it's this big word that we all, if we were in school, if we were bad in school, then we heard it a lot. If we were good in school, then we were afraid of it.
Right.
It's this thing that we have decided as a culture that we get to label something as a failure. And that is really a binary way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And we need to think more on a spectrum where like if I make a quilt and some of my points don't match, it's not a failure. I
No.
was on a learning curve and some things are not perfect and that's okay. I still made a quilt. Or if I made a quilt that had like very low contrast, right?
Mhm.
Like my colors were like too close in value. And so when you step back from it, it's kind of hard to see what's
Right.
happening. But still not a failure. I learned something through that. And I still might be able to give that quilt to someone or might be able to cut it up and use it in something else or like
Right.
let the dog sleep on it or whatever.
Well, and the other thing too is that I think if we talk about it that way, if we look at creativity as another skill to learn, and then I
Mm-hmm.
think that gives us, because like you said, it's a binary. People are like, well, I'm not creative. I was like, it's
Yes.
another muscle that you have to grow. Just like, okay, no one
Mm-hmm.
is inherently knows exactly what a quarter-inch seam is at the beginning, and that's a skill that you
Right.
learn. All of the stuff is okay. I tried it. It wasn't how I wanted it. I tried it again. It got better. I think
Yes.
creativity and you can divide all of that up as like, okay, my color picking isn't what I want it to be. I'll try it
Mm-hmm.
again. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that whole
Or
keep
I'll take
going.
a class with
Right.
somebody. Or yes, keep going. Or I will keep going in the sense of I'm going to ask my friends to come over and like
Hmm.
pull some stuff from my stash for me to play with or bring stuff they know contrasts my usual color palette to help
Yeah.
me. Or I join a guild and I meet people, or I take a class, or I read a book, or what. I mean, you can, or I go to the museum and I look at artwork there and I get inspired, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Right.
So I think that we need to practice thinking not in a binary way about success or failure.
Yes.
And that helps just take that idea out of the equation. But then if we find ourselves thinking about it still, which is totally normal human behavior,
Hmm.
then we got to ask ourselves, how can I, like, in coaching, we talk a lot about just like shifting perspective. So,
Hmm.
like, how can I reframe this? So, okay, let me see if I have an example. I'll pick up this as an example. So, I got some samples of a new line of fabric from Susie Quilts, and she gave me a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit of it to play with, right? And I'm making these little cushions. So,
Oh,
here
that's fun.
Thanks. Yeah, here's a cushion. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think it's a failure. I think that I would have preferred using this plaid or this
Hmm.
checked fabric as the background instead of the stripes in this case.
Yeah.
Does that mean this is a failure?
Nope.
No, it's not a failure. It's
It's
still going
fun.
to be a couch cushion. I'm still going to throw it on my couch. The
Yep.
dog is still going to fart on it. So
Yep.
like, you know, this is life. Like I
Yep.
don't we have big serious stuff in our world, and I don't want to get stuck in big serious self criticism, shame, doubt
Yeah.
over a couch cushion that I made with fabric that was gifted to me. Like that's
Right.
what a waste of my time, precious time and energy, right? So
Right.
a reframe is, okay, I've never sewn with checked fabric like that before, and I definitely learned that I want bigger pieces of it.
Hmm.
Okay, great. I'll try that on the next thing, you know?
Yep.
So I love thinking about success or failure instead of thinking in that binary way, thinking about it in a spectrum, but really honing in on using that thinking as a way to really take failure idea out of the question and honing in on what am I learning from this? What can I share with people that I learned? Like, even if we make a whole project and we're like, this is dog barf. I cannot take all my references, by the way, are now about dogs because I have a dog now.
Yay, Gertie.
Yay, Gertimus.
Yeah.
So, you know, even if it's just like totally a ugly quilt and a real you don't like it,
Yeah.
you can show that quilt at a guild. You can donate that quilt to Linus Project or
Yep.
Welcome Blanket. I mean, there are still ways to use these things that we can
Hmm.
think about, reframe as a learning moment, you know?
So what if you're in the middle of it. You're
Yeah.
in your process. Like, I am trying something new and I am uncomfortable and
Yeah.
unsure.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Is like, are we to the point where this becomes, rumination and racing thoughts and all of this other stuff? Is like, I'm
Yeah.
trying something new and I'm so uncomfortable. What do
Yes.
I
Yes.
do?
So when I'm working with clients on this, I try to ask them, well, what part of it is making you the most uncomfortable?
Hmm.
And, is it the color play? Is it a technique thing? That gives us a chance to look a little deeper and say, am I uncomfortable because of a thing that I can adjust
Yeah.
to help myself feel more confident? So I've told this story a million times, but I'll tell it again because I think we can all relate. When I first started quilting, I didn't have a 1/4 inch foot. I did not understand how to measure a 1/4 inch, and my sewing machine sucked. So it was a hot mess. And and so I was uncomfortable all the time. I was always afraid things weren't going to fit. Blocks wouldn't fit together right. I felt like I sucked. I felt like I was failing. And a new friend of mine in my guild said, well, what about a 1/4 inch foot? And I went, what? Like, that's a thing? And I got a 1/4 inch foot. And oh my gosh, it made an enormous difference. So
Hmm.
in that sense, the discomfort was a technical issue that I could
Right.
solve with a tool
Right.
and also by being part of a community where someone helped me, right?
Yes.
So we can ask ourselves, what's making me most uncomfortable? And then if when we know it's rumination, we know that it's unhelpful thinking about it when we're going to bed at night and we can't stop thinking about it,
Mm,
when we're hanging out in our making space and feel paralyzed and can't move forward on anything and to
hmm.
just keep thinking and thinking and thinking. So that's a moment we got to get out of our heads. And that's
Yeah.
when I always suggest like text a friend, call a friend, meet up with a friend, go to a guild meeting, take a break. All the
Yeah.
things that we do, pause and reflect on all the things you've done that you have felt successful at and remind
Mhm.
yourself of all your skill and experience. There are ways to get out of that thinking. Sometimes when we're ruminating, I was just talking about this with a clinician earlier today.
Mhm.
We need to take a break, and taking a break can look like walking around the block, playing with some other project,
Yeah.
eating a good snack that makes us feel happy and feel good in our bodies, petting
Right.
the dog, singing to a song that we loved, getting out of our head,
Yeah.
right? So
Dance
if we're
break.
Yes, dance break, exactly.
Mhm.
So if we're ruminating, it's like we need to move our bodies. We need to get out of the physical space where we are. We need
Mhm.
to put something else in our brains to turn off that rumination for a few minutes. And like it's like a little reset, right?
Yeah.
And we need to practice. So I actually have a list now, as of this morning, after talking with somebody about this for myself. I have a list of things I can do when a certain behavior pops up for me and I'm like, "Oh, that behavior sucks." I now have a list of 15 things I
Okay.
can pivot to, right? Just for like
Mhm.
10 minutes.
Right.
Do this other thing. And then that's an option, right?
So what do
But
you go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was just going to say, sometimes we're thinking about it because our brain is working out a solution.
Yeah.
So,
So okay, so that's my follow-up is like, well, how do
yeah,
we know when we should push through?
yeah,
Because it's like, okay, I am uncomfortable. If I take a little break, again, I am the type of person that's like butterfly. Like,
yeah. 4 hours later, you
yeah, it's
realize.
like, okay. So,
Okay, well, first of all, set a timer. If you have to put the
okay.
timer in your pocket, I like a
Hmm.
physical timer, not, I
Uh-huh.
mean, the phone is great, but like set a 15-minute
Yeah.
timer or whatever, put this in your pocket, walk around the house, do your thing. When this
Uh-huh.
goes off, listen to her. But
Minor details. Yeah.
I know. Um, I know how neurodivergent people are because I am one.
Yay.
But so I think that if you take that break and you come back and you're still feeling discomfort,
Mm.
then you might ask yourself, well, what's the worst thing that can happen if I push through?
Okay.
What's the worst thing, right? And then we're able to think like we get a little more logical about it and we
Hmm.
think, wow, well, I guess the worst thing is I end up with a pile of scraps that I can't use.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, wow. What that's if that's the worst thing, amazing. That's a great outcome because I'll take those scraps because that's how I quilt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you can stuff them in a dog bed. I told you every reference is about dogs now. Are we up to like five? I think so.
I don't know. I may cut this together and be like,
Ding, yeah, ding, 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 ding. Dog references.
yeah, we
Oh,
can
we ran out of
make
screen.
it a game. Okay, everybody take a sip of their tea whenever we
Woof.
go. Yep, yep, yep. Woof.
So, I think that we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to sit and think through what is the worst case scenario. If I push through, let's talk about color because a lot of people really struggle with color.
Yeah.
Let's say we're looking at a palette, we're feeling frustrated, we just feel like we can't make something work.
Hmm.
We've taken our break, we come back, we still think it isn't going to work. Well, you have some options. You can say, it's not working.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something
that's a
different.
valid response. It's like,
That's an
okay,
option.
I tried it. It didn't work
Yeah,
out.
it didn't work out.
And then,
I'm not having fun. I'm going to move on
yeah,
to something else,
yeah.
And then you can ask friends or you can, watch a couple of like Tara Fawnin Instagram
Hmm.
videos. She's got a Make It Fugly Instagram series right now
Oh my
um,
gosh.
about color play and like her assistant. I don't know if I'm using the right title, but the person who works with her
Right.
pulls what she thinks are like real ugly colors
Uh-huh.
and challenges Tara to make them work.
That's hilarious.
So like if you're having color play moment where you're frustrated, go watch some Make It Fugly videos and you'll
Hmm.
learn something, right?
Right.
But it is an option to say this isn't working for me. I want to walk away from it. That's okay.
Hmm.
There are people in the quilt world who will take your partially made project off your
Hmm.
hands and do something with it. That
Yes.
is a known thing. And then, you, or if you're like, this isn't working, but there's still something here. If
Yeah.
you're, if you're like, there's still something here, I really want to make this work. Well, then maybe it's time to get a little weird with it. Maybe it's time to get courageous.
Right.
Maybe it's time to be like, I've tried making this very neutral, soft, pretty palette and it's just boring me.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to throw some black in there, or I'm going to
Yeah.
throw a print in there, or what, and just see what's the worst thing that could happen, you know?
Sometimes just to be all Adam's family values, sometimes you're a Morticia and sometimes you're a Debbie, and that's okay. Oh,
That's
Debbie,
right.
pastels. Yeah, anyway.
That's
Okay,
right.
you do it.
And sometimes you're lurch, you
Yeah.
know, because they're like, "Roar." So it is okay to step. I mean, I have like, this is my cutting table, but it is also my storage table. And I have a bunch
Hmm.
of projects under there,
Hmm.
including a few that I've walked away from. And but I still think about them.
Yeah.
Projects that I walked away from, and I'm like, there's still something there. I'm going to set it aside for six
Yeah.
months and come back to it and look at it again and with fresh eyes and see if maybe I'll have learned something in that time that will help me get excited about it again. Or, and this has happened, I'll pull it out and be like, I still am not thrilled by this. So now I'm done. Now I'm going to take the
Yeah.
fabric and reintegrate it in my stash.
Yep.
I'm going to give the blocks, I'm going to put them on the free table at Guild and someone will
Hmm.
take them, you know. So I think it's that the thing that happens to a lot of us is that we get into creative space, and especially if we feel cramped on time and energy,
Yeah, that's hard.
we push forward, right? We're like, I got to make the best use of my time, especially busy people who work, have kids, run their business, take care of
Yeah.
aging parents, all that stuff. You feel like I got to make the best use of this time. But the thing is, sometimes the best use is a pause.
Well,
Sometimes,
and that pressure can just make that stuff, you just freeze. You're
yes,
like, I
yes,
have to make this work,
yep,
but then what if I fail? That like then we're back to the
yeah,
spiral rumination stuff. So even that pressure
totally.
is a big factor on, okay, I can't be creative because I'm not, that whole, your brain has to be in a state of not
Yeah,
being pressured. We just talked to
yes,
Erin and she was talking about using creativity to help calm her nervous system. If your nervous
yes.
system's all jacked up, it's like the happy feelings of trying to do something's not going to work.
Yeah. And then your work is going to suck. You're not going to love it for the
No.
most part. I mean, some people thrive under pressure. I think they're pretty rare, actually. And
Yeah.
I think they have health outcomes that show up later that tell us they weren't actually thriving.
Mm, mm,
I'm not going to say how I know that,
mm,
but I might know something about that.
maybe.
But, I was a gifted child. So,
Yeah.
the pressure. Um, but yeah, I think it's important to remember that we need to pause sometimes and try to listen to our intuition and what it has to tell us about whether or not we should move forward with something that's feeling uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Because sometimes it's uncomfortable because you're on the precipice of some really cool realization that's going to
Yep.
take it to an amazing place.
Yep.
Sometimes that discomfort is not a sign that you should stop. It is the sign that you should keep going, but
Hmm.
that direction might shift. So if you want to think about it in like as a metaphor, exercise, I'm in physical therapy right now. I did some stuff yesterday in PT that made my muscles sore.
Hmm.
And as I was leaving, my physical therapist said, remember, muscle soreness is not a sign that you made a mistake or that you should stop. It is a
Hmm.
sign of growth. It is a
Yes.
sign that you are getting stronger. And so we can think the same thing about our creativity. If we're feeling discomfort, if we're feeling pain, not
Hmm.
physical pain, but that is often a sign that we're growing, we're trying something different. And
Yeah.
the way our brains work is like that we have these, innumerable neural pathways in our
Yes.
brains. And our brains like repetition, they like
Yes.
predictability.
Hmm.
That's what soothes us a lot of the time. And so when we are veering outside of we're building a new
Hmm.
neural pathway, it's uncomfortable because
Right.
we haven't done it before. But that's not a sign of failure. And again, when people say, but, I only have this much fabric, or I only have what, okay, do a test block in something else,
Yeah,
you
my
know?
my test
Like,
blocks a lot are generally like if I'm making a new pattern.
mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the time when I show quilts and like do a trunk show and stuff like that, people are like, "Oh, we want to see the back," because generally the first one or even two blocks, they're
Yeah.
ugly and I hate them. And like when I get them up, like I get the quilt together on the design wall, I'm like, "Okay, I need to make a couple more blocks because I'm throwing these ones
Yeah.
out." And so then I they go on the back
They go on the
because
back. I
I hate
love
them
this
and they don't
idea.
want to be on the front.
I love this, but you're still honoring them.
Yes.
What a
And
great
I'm using the
metaphor.
fabric and they become like my labels and I can write
Yeah.
on them and put them in the back.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. I love
It's
it.
yeah. And then I'm not wasting anything. I don't have to
Yeah.
like be organized. I can just
Yep.
keep it with the project and be like, okay, we're good
That's
now.
right. And you know what? Even if you threw those blocks out, that's
That's
okay.
also fine.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I really honor the desire to use what we have and be wise and not
Hmm.
waste. Yes, 100%.
Right.
And if you throw out the occasional block in the grand scheme of things, the volume of garbage you're making as a human being every
It's
day,
okay.
it's okay. It's okay.
What do you think of the idea just to piggyback onto it? So if people, if they don't know where to start and they're like, okay, the whole idea of trying to stretch something makes me nervous. What
Mm.
about, okay,
Mm-hmm.
challenge quilts? So, because I've gotten
Oh
emails
yeah.
about the cherrywood challenge that just got announced.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that
Uh-huh.
has, and for those who don't know, cherrywood fabrics is a hand dyed fabric place with gorgeous, like, hand dyed. And they put out a challenge every year with this is your color palette. You make this size of quilt. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
parameters. So, like, these
Mm-hmm.
are the six colors, six fabrics you use. Your quilt has to be a certain size. And then whatever you do with it, that's
Yeah.
that's your challenge. So like there's
Yep.
that one, there's the Wyndham one where they just announced like their palette, which is really pretty too. So what do you think
Mm-hmm.
about trying one of those to sort of
Oh, yes.
baby step your way
Yes.
in?
Yeah, or like the modern mini challenge at the Great
Yeah,
Wisconsin Quilt Show, or, or a mini swap through QuiltCon,
those are
or
fun. I love
yeah, there's lots of different ways to play. You can do it by yourself by picking a block and
hmm
saying, I'm going to practice this block. I'm going to try three colorways or whatever,
Right.
But we're, like you said, parameters.
That
We're
helps.
setting limits that
Hmm.
can really help. Like I was talking with Yasmin Branton of Sand and Stars. She
Okay.
does these beautiful applique quilts, and they're very organic and they feature a lot of botanical themes and stuff,
Okay.
and they're lovely. And she said, I never want people to start with a whole quilt pattern by me because if they haven't done applique before,
Yeah.
then they're biting off way more than they can chew. So
Right.
she said, I want people to just start by playing with organic shapes and
Hmm.
practicing the technique until they get comfortable, and then try a small wall hanging or a
Yeah.
mini quilt, and then see and finish it, and then see, okay, then, some of us are,
Let
yeah, cuckoo. I mean, I started applique by doing a Sarah Fielke block of the month. It took me 17 months. That's fine.
that's fine.
I and I love it, but also I learned so much, and it was too much for most people,
Well, and
you
that's
know.
the other part too. So if we're talking about parameters, none of this has to be fast
Totally. Yes. No. I mean,
because
we're
like
not the tech
building a skill,
industry.
no.
This is not move fast and break things. This is hang out, be slow, be present in it, soak it up, experiment, let yourself play, let
Right.
yourself consider what's happening, because that is how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to build that intuition that
Yes.
later will tell you, should I push through and keep going and try
Yeah.
something,
It
you
was like
know?
if you're building like this is what I have a 7-year-old, and so what I told him when he was doing his homework and he was getting frustrated goes back to the building the neural pathways. I explained it to him as like you're building the bridges in your brain. It
Yep.
takes a while to build a bridge. Like it's not
Oh,
just throwing a rope
what?
across. That's not a stable bridge. You have to build the
Right.
bridge in your
Yes.
brain.
Sometimes in crisis, we do have to throw a rope
That is,
across.
yeah, that's yeah.
And
Hmm.
no, but I love this metaphor, especially for talking to kids, because
Hmm.
everybody's seen Legos, if not built with them, right?
Right.
So brick by brick, step by step. And this is how we learn to meditate. Breath by breath is what we
Yes.
always say. Breath by breath. Every single breath, you have an opportunity to learn how to be a better meditator and
Hmm.
like better. But you know what I mean?
Right. Get more
But
comfortable with it.
yeah.
I think that's the other thing is like the word you use is like, it's not the binary. We're not better, we're not worse.
Yes.
We're more
Yes.
comfortable.
Well, our culture really emphasizes epitomizes mastery. Like
Yeah.
the best people are masters of their craft. Well, they're not the best people. They're just human beings who
Right.
maybe have gone all in and spent 30,000 hours, honing their
Right.
craft. Fine, great, awesome. I'm glad that that worked for them. But
Hmm.
most of us are kind of fumbling along
Yeah.
and have a bunch of halfway finished projects under our cutting table or whatever. And
Hmm.
that is okay. That does not mean that we're not amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I think anybody who devotes some part of their life to making things is amazing to me. Like,
Yeah.
because even the simplest thing today in a culture that, again, epitomizes speed and ease and convenience,
Right.
choosing to cook your own dinner versus having it delivered can be kind of a courageous act. Like,
Yeah.
you're stretching yourself,
Yes.
um,
You're making it your own.
and you're
For better or
making,
for worse. Is like
yeah.
sometimes if I burn the potatoes, I burn the potatoes,
Well,
that's
you
fine.
scrape off the burnt part and you eat the rest and you say,
Yeah.
well, I learned something about my oven.
Yeah. Exactly.
We move forward.
Yes. So, where can everybody find you to get all of your brain goodness and
Oh,
advice?
thank you so much. Well, I'm at coachjennigrover.com or Coach Jenni Grover on all the social medias. Or you can email me, jenny@jennigrover.com. But really, like, Instagram is the place I'm the most active.
And
So
Jenny
Coach
is two
Jenny.
N's and an I.
That's right. Jenni and
Mhm.
Grover like Sesame Street. That's my real name, but
I
it
know.
just happened to be
That's so
like
fun. Well, thank you for coming and joining us and talking about the uncomfortable parts of creativity. I appreciate
Yeah.
it so much. And we're going to see you next year. No
Amazing.
pressure.
Thank you so much. Even if I feel uncomfortable, I'll do it anyway.
Yay.
When would I feel uncomfortable with you? Never.
Oh, thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.